From IFL Science, giant terror bird attacked by prehistoric Cayman. From prehistoric to present, my name is Ethan. This is Creature Guide Live Daily News. Remember to like, comment, and if you love talking about animals, share this show with everyone you know. You can catch new episodes throughout the day at Creature Guide Live on Rumble and YouTube. Now, let's get into the animal news of the day. So, terror birds' mangled legs suggest it died in the jaws of a caiman 15 million years ago. It's difficult to think this super predator, the terror bird, had been predated or scavenged by a large caiman. Well, what do we have here? It looks like some bad Miocene epoch setting. The terror bird, its name that, yes, I will describe this. Okay. A rare fossil has now revealed a surprising weakness, however, as it suggests that 15 million years ago, one died in the jaws of a caiman. Finding direct evidence of trophic interactions like this is pretty rare in the fossil record, which is why it's so exciting when scientists stumble across a bone with a few bite marks. That was the case for a team examining the distal part of a leg bone from terror bird retrieved from La Venta in Colombia, which revealed four pits that had been inflicted on the cortical bone. We were very thrilled by the discovery of a bird of terror in northern and South America after more than 100 years of research in the Miocene site of La Venta. So, what's going on here is probably the interaction between um, a member of the Forest Rockidae, possibly Forest Rockus itself, um, lineage of terror birds. These animals first evolved somewhere around 43, no, 40, yeah, around 43 million years ago during the early Eocene epoch. And at that time, they were probably mostly vegetarian. But by the time the Miocene epoch arose, terror birds became some of the top predators in different South American and even North American, Central American ecosystems. So they did have a distinct hook-like beak, more similar to what you see in different types of predatory birds today, like eagles, vultures, hawks, falcons, and these animals probably preyed on smaller species of horses, maybe even some cases young mastodon. Um, Earlier relatives of like the Pleistocene mastodons, younger ground sloths, even early relatives of the capybara. So, at this time, 15 million years ago, they still weren't very large. We're talking about animals probably weighed somewhere around 2 to 300 pounds. So horses weren't very large at this point. So this is probably taking place around 13 to 15 million years ago, maybe even smaller, possibly around the um, 50 to 100 pound realm. So this on the left is Purosaurus. This is not a dinosaur. This is actually a member of the Alligatortoideae lineage of crocodilians, or technically also a member of Alligatortoridae. Their um, true ancestors first evolved somewhere around 75 to 80 million years ago, or true crocodilian ancestors. These were also the first caiman. So they arrived somewhere around the early Campanian stage of the Cretaceous period. So they were coexisting with animals like possibly different species of abelisaurids at the time, or even possibly megaraptors. But this is far forward into the future. And at this point, so dinosaurs are long extinct. This is pretty much the top predator in South America. Purosaurus um, was a true caiman. This was a member of Alligatortoridae. So this was a 45-foot long, probably 5 to 6 ton caiman that dominated the different South American ecosystems of the mid Miocene epoch. So this animal would have hunted pretty much anything, even the okay, well, this is somebody else. This is Dinosuchus. This is actually a distant relative of the Purosaurus. So this belongs to a completely different lineage of crocodilomorph. And this is not a T Rex. This is supposed to represent Albertosaurus. So this is an occasion that could have probably happened along Alberta somewhere around 75 million years ago. An Albertosaurus was about 30 feet in length and could have weighed somewhere around 3 to 3.5 tons. And so it was nowhere the size of the 45-foot long, um, possibly, 9 to 11 ton Dinosuchus. So it could have been lunch for this animal. But this was back in the late Cretaceous period. And this is technically the largest, in quotes, crocodilian to exist, even though Dinosuchus was not a true crocodilian. Um, but at this time, well, okay, you could say the true crocodilians. This is the largest individual per source, and um, these are not made up horror mammals. These are actually members of the Leodontidae lineage of mammals called Hoalotherium, and they're much larger than what this photo might make them appear like. While Ethereum could probably reach around 1,800 pounds. So these aren't small mammals in this instance. They're also quite herbivorous. So they would have fed on a variety of different types of grasses, possibly even aquatic vegetation, like capybaras do today. Not members of the rodent family. Mentioning that because I keep mentioning capybaras, which are the largest rodents today. But these animals are actually more closely related to horses, tapirs, and rhinos compared to even rodents. They first evolved, I believe, during the Paleocene, somewhere around 52 million years ago, and unfortunately would go extinct at the end of the Pleistocene epoch around 12,000 years ago. And um, which is interesting. I mean, they had quite massive success within the different families that their relatives belong to. So yes, they were the food for Purosaurus. They have a very distinct like morphology. You could almost say in some instances they had some sort of characteristics, kind of like certain types of calicotheres, which is a distant branch of mammals that occurred during the Oligocene, possibly into the Miocene as well, but over 30 million years ago, even different parts of Mongolia. Yeah, here's another picture. These aren't the best looking animals. I mean, it's a great drawing, and same for this individual, but I'm just saying, I just think these animals in general are kind of hideous. Um, anyway, let's move on. Let's go back to the article. The Okay, the chop marks showed no signs of healing, suggesting the bird either didn't survive the event or was already dead when it began. A new paper on the findings suggests that the Cayman Purosaurus nevensis may have been the culprit, which, whether hunted or scavenged, is pretty impressive on the part of this ancient reptile. Not really. I mean, you're talking about a terror bird that was, well, in general, with the terror birds, they never, I mean, you're talking about a 5-ton crocodilian that's taking down an animal that maybe weighs 700 pounds. That's one of the more heavily built terror birds, but Forest Rockus could reach a height of around 8 feet. So, for most of the many of the plant eaters around, it was quite a terror. But for Purosaurus, it's just another turkey stick. So, let's see. So here, yes, the upper skull of the Purosaurus. They're matching it with the. I'm guessing the. Oh, it's the terror bird's leg. Geesh. Okay, yeah, this is a very robust species. There's a wide because there's the forest rockidae family of terror birds, in which there's a large amount of different species. Also, very distinct from other species that look quite similar to forest rocket in some instances, but they're actually quite distantly related. Let's take a look at this. It was surprising, said lead author Andre Link at the Universidad. Okay. At first, we were very thrilled by the discovery of a bird of terror in northern South America after more than 100 years of research in the Miocene site of La Venta. As we examined the part of the leg, tibiotarsus, of the terror bird, we noticed it had some very intriguing marks that suggested tooth marks. At that moment, I felt this evidence was indeed counterintuitive, as it's difficult to think this super predator, the terror bird, had been predated or scavenged by a large caiman. Here's okay if it hunted the terror bird. Yeah, there's not much terror bird could do. I mean, maybe if it got direct hit on the Pursosaurus's head, if it's a smaller Pursosaurus, it could possibly kill it. But a full-grown adult, I don't know. I'm also not sure what necessarily like the pressure is of a terror bird hitting something. Um, but yeah, definitely in this instance, it's just going to become another chicken finger. Okay. The discovery paints a new picture of how crocodilomorphs and the large terror birds in the middle Miocene of La Venta, Colombia, were interacting with one another. It adds to our understanding of what Parasaurus niviensis was capable of eating and suggests the terror birds might have had a higher predation risk than previously expected. Direct evidence of predation and trophic relationships like this can be invaluable in building a more complex picture of extinct ecosystems, revealing how species interacted in the past. Turns out water holes have long been a logistical nightmare for staying alive. Yeah, definitely is. By the way, at this site too, so it's around 15 million years ago, there were different species of smaller ground sloth at the time. This is Magdalena bradis. And so this animal was nowhere as large as like the later Pleistocene epoch or Ice Age, Megatherium and Ermatherium, which also did not live in a very cold landscape, despite possibly being covered in somewhat dense layer of fur. It just didn't have the relative thickness of other mammals. This is not a true saber tooth. This is a distant relative of the more famous, Smilodons or even the scimitar tooth cats that you'd find different parts of northern North America, Asia, like the Homotherium. This is a member of the Thylacolsmilodon lineage of saber tooths, also known as the Metatherians. This is specifically Anacalystis, which is a small relative of the more famous Thylacolsmilus. These are actually more closely related to marsupials than they are the placentals, like the Smilodon fatalis or like Homotherium saber-toothed cats. So these are not true cats. This animal didn't weigh much more than 40 pounds, probably preyed on the smaller prehistoric rodents at this time, maybe even went after smaller reptiles, probably focusing on the mammals though, due to its canines. The Thylacosmilids in general, like the Smilodontids, they had very delicate skull structures. So they had to um, specifically target certain areas, like of the body, like especially focusing on the neck. Probably didn't go after heavily armored um, armadillos at the time either. Now there was also the Gilphus arstigicia rodent at this time. Now, despite how capybara they make this animal look, it's actually a bit of a distant relative. It is related, but the thing is that capybara belongs to the family of rodents called Cavidae. This does not. This belonged to a family of rodents, specifically Diphnidai, and this animal could have weighed up to 1,100 pounds and probably fed on different species of aquatic vegetation and was not a carnivore. You mean you possibly could have it might have been going after mollusks, but so far it looks like this must have been probably at least primarily herbivorous. So see, what's another thing? Oh, it would have had to watch out though for animals like Parasaurus, probably sticking to specific types of lakes that didn't host large numbers of them. And at the time, this many would assume that this is a giant armadillo, or those are a bit more familiar with the paleo life of the Miocene, Pleistocene, or Pliocene epochs, that's a glyptodont. Neither is true, but they are closely related. This is a member of the Pamphotheridae lineage of mammals, in which also the glyptodonts belong to. It's actually a family that consists of at least seven different subfamilies of these armadillo-like creatures. So this is Scylotherium. So this is a possibly a 200-pound armadillo-like mammal. and possibly was omnivorous, going after different species of insects, but it could have also fed on different species of vegetation, possibly even going after the roots of different plants. Here's the skull of one of the individuals. It's also been assumed with like the glyptodonts that they would have had a trunk-like structure for their nose. And it's also a bit of a debate with the Pempitherans as well. I think I might have just stuck. This was for the skeleton of the Magdalena bratis ground sloth that existed during this time. This was also a vegetarian. And the unique thing about them, also like their relatives later on, is that they would have walked on the sides of their feet. So they were probably relatively slow, but outside of animals like Parasaurus, probably didn't have many predators to be concerned about. Definitely not that little Thylaca. This specific species probably weighed somewhere around 200 pounds. So this article provides evidence on the broad diet of the large caiman Parasaurus noviensis and the fact that terror birds could also fall prey of other predators. This is due to predator terror birds usually being portrayed as like the top land predator outside of like certain saber tooths. Let's see. But in my opinion, this study highlights how the terrestrial vertebrates of La Vinta must have also used the water holes or water sources where aquatic predators were waiting for an opportunity to hunt. Thus, it resembles how extant herbivores go to water sources to drink, or terrestrial predators look for prey and are as well subject to predation by caimans. So, yes, the Miocene epoch. Here's the thing. I mean, Colombia in general, you travel all the way back to the Eocene, so over 54 million years ago, and you have the giant Titanoboa snake, which was 50 feet in length, would have preyed on the smaller species of caiman at the time, would have preyed on any of the mammals that existed. Even the larger species had to be concerned about Titanoboa, especially in the water, because Titanoboa probably had a anaconda-like lifestyle, which would have helped it move quite fluidly in the water. And um, even at this time with Parasaurus, so this is only 15 million years ago in the Miocene. You travel even further in Pleistocene, and you had saber-toothed cats. I'm not so sure about the aquatic predators, though. You definitely had caimans at the time. It has, at least for the past, what, um, you could probably even travel back 75 million years. And yeah, Colombia has just been a reptile um, haven. So, with all the other animals having issues with the water. So, let me know in the comments what your favorite species of aquatic predator is in the different South American ecosystems. And from prehistoric to present, my name is Ethan. This is Creature Guide Live Daily News. Remember to like, comment, and if you love talking about animals, share this show with everyone you know. You can catch new episodes throughout the day at Creature Guide Live on Rumble and YouTube. And don't forget to catch our animal documentary commentary live stream on Saturdays at 6 p.m. Central on Rumble, because nothing is better than all animals all the time.